Okay, students, this is a lecture on how to paraphrase, and this topic is included in your unit number 4 on page 37. And this is very important topic. So if we ask a few questions as brainstorming, then we try to answer those questions in our lecture, then this topic will be pretty much clear. The first question is, what is a paraphrase? The second one is steps for doing paraphrase. What steps should we follow while doing paraphrase? And the third thing, that why to do paraphrase? Why should we study about paraphrase? Why should we study the theory of doing paraphrase? And then why should we do paraphrase? So let us try to answer these questions in this lecture. So paraphrase is to rewrite someone's ideas in your own words, in your language. It is basically rephrasing, rewriting. And paraphrase is mostly done in poetry. So you know, the language of poetry is different from the language of prose. In poetry, you are having rhyme scheme, you are having rhythm, you are having meter, etc. While in prose, you are having simple language, no rhyme scheme, no meter, no rhythm. So in paraphrasing, you just convert the language of poetry into the language of prose. You bring it into simple language while changing the vocabulary and the sentence structure. So that is paraphrase. Now here we are having a few steps for doing paraphrase. The first one is reading the poem carefully. This is very important, because when you are doing paraphrase, you are not supposed to change the idea of the poem or to include any further idea in your paraphrasing. What you have to do, you have to grab the idea of the poet by reading the poem very carefully. And once you grab the idea of the poet, the key points in the poem, then you have to write those ideas, those key points in your words and in your language and in your sentence style and sentence structure. So for that, reading is very important. And the second step is note down the key ideas with yourself. While reading, take a pen and a page and note down the key ideas, because that would you do while doing paraphrase. You have to convert those ideas into your language. You have to write those ideas in your words. And then the last step is that pick up a pen and write down the key ideas in your words. So your paraphrase is done. There are a few things to be avoided. The first one is copying, because most of the time, as students do not know what is there in the original stanza, they do not grab the idea, or they do not know how to paraphrase. So what they do, they just copy the original words, the original sentences of the poem, which is totally wrong. You are not supposed to copy. You have to grab the idea from each and every sentence while reading the sentence several times, reading each and every stanza of the poem several times, and then without copying the original words, the original sentence structure, the original language of the poem. Without copying that, you have to write it in your words. And the second thing is length. Keeping care of the length is very important, because sometimes, suppose if a poem is having 4 lines, students start writing and write to 8 lines or 10 lines or 12 lines. As we mentioned earlier, that we are not supposed to include our ideas in the paraphrase, so then there is no need to exceed in sentences and to exceed in words. What you have to do, suppose a stanza is having 4 lines, you have to write just the paraphrase in just 4 lines or 5 lines, not more than that. Keeping care of the length is very important, length. And the third thing, which is very, very important, do not explain. Because there is also a question in your paper, that is explanation with reference to the context. So during the explanation, you can give your personal point of view, your personal thinking, and your personal idea. But in doing paraphrase, you are not supposed to give your point of view. You have just to convert the language from poetry into prose. The idea will be the same. No changing in idea, no modification in idea. So do not explain while paraphrasing the poem. So that these were a few steps for doing paraphrase. Now our third question is, why to paraphrase? So doing paraphrase is very much important, because you know that the poetry language is most of the time very difficult, and common readers are not able to get the idea that what the poet want to say. So when you paraphrase it, you convert from the poetry to prose, and you bring it into simple language, simple sentences. So then a reader can easily grab the idea that what the poet want to say. So for that purpose you are doing paraphrase. The second importance can be that it sharpens your mind, because when you are doing paraphrase, so you are trying to pick ideas from the poems, and it enables you to pick ideas from the text everywhere and anytime. So sharpening your mind is also a significance of doing paraphrase. So that was about paraphrase. Now this is just the theory of doing paraphrase. Theoretically we discuss how to do paraphrase. You have to do it practically, because it is something practical. You cannot learn it by just listening or watching or doing the theory of doing paraphrase. What you have to do, you have to pick up your pen and come to page number 34. And in this we are having the poem The Daffodils, and here we are having 4 stanzas. So you have to read each and every stanza carefully, and then you have to write the paraphrase for each and every stanza. Beside this poem, we are having many other poems in this book, so you can paraphrase them. Beside that, you can have other poems outside your course, outside this book as well, and you can paraphrase. So the more you practice, the more you will be able to paraphrase in a better way. So I hope that the topic how to do paraphrase is pretty much clear now. And if you are having still confusion, you can ask me personally in my WhatsApp. And beside, do this assignment, convert these 4 stanzas into prose, write their paraphrase and send it to me. Thank you very much.